The battle between Phoenix Demon and White Tiger rages on. The former screeches out a warning to White Tiger, declaring that it will face the consequences for provoking him. Thinking of Yu Ziyu, the god tree. The demon can only wonder why in the world he keeps this beast around. Standing across from him, White Tiger responds the only way it knows how, by continuously screeching that everyone will die. Where's the off button on this dude? Luckily for Phoenix Demon's sanity, Xiao Lan shows up at that exact moment and bitch slaps the fight right out of White Tiger. Ah, I think we found the button. After apologizing to Phoenix Demon for White Tiger's actions, Xiao Lan explains to the incensed bird that they're here to invite him to Misty Mountain. About 3 days later, up on the moon base, news of Phoenix Demon's successful recruitment is conveyed to Yu Ziyu by Laurel. Shocked as he is by this incredibly positive development, the god tree still has much to do. Meanwhile, the forces that have been recruited to his cause gather together on Earth so they may be transported to the moon base. It's here that Phoenix Demon gets a proper gauge of just how incredible the beings joining Yu Ziyu are. Right at that moment, a tear appears in front of them, seemingly ripping apart reality itself. Though Phoenix recognizes it as a void crevice, the great ape leader refers to it as the entrance to heaven and declares that the divine tree is waiting for them. I mean, bro's not wrong, but man, is he extra as hell. As everyone starts moving through and Phoenix wonders what exactly he's joined, we return to space and see the changes Yu Ziyu has made to the moon. Namely, the massive lake or small ocean at this point covering a solid portion of the space rock. Unfortunately, the base is still a ways away from being perfect, with the trees beginning to wither despite the support of spirit energy. Just as he's pondering over this, Yu Ziyu feels a jolt going through him, letting him know of his new recruit's arrival on the moon. As they come through, he answers Kane Gang's surprised question about the presence of oxygen up here. As soon as he finishes explaining how he's used an illusionary world to seal up the moon's atmosphere, Phoenix Demon strides over to him and the two meet properly. While the two exchange formalities, Phoenix takes note of how Ziyu looks every bit as eerie as he does divine in his newest state. At the same time, Yu Ziyu is taking note of Phoenix's status window, which shows abilities no less impressive than those of Nine Tails. Once they're both done silently sizing each other up, Ziyu tells Phoenix that he can stay in the dimension of darkness from now on and lead their flying beasts. In response, Phoenix bows before Ziyu and declares that he shall only fight for the divine tree from here on out. Dang, they got bro blushing like a schoolgirl out here. Only a few days later, Phoenix finds himself stronger than ever before, having been soaking in the metamorphosis pool created by Ziyu using the essence of life itself. At the same time, elsewhere on the base, Ziyu oversees Kane Gang as he uses his power to construct buildings out of the moon's soil. This is a good thing too, because if he didn't, then King would waste all his time just glazing Ziyu. I mean, look at that thing. With everyone else occupied, Yu Ziyu finally has time to think about another important matter. Namely, the fruits he condensed while cultivating the light and dark attributes. Not only can they greatly enhance one's innate talent and transform them into an elemental life form, but everyone that's eaten one so far has become a transcendent fourth-order powerhouse at record speeds. The dilemma Ziyu finds himself facing now is who to give these to, and the more he thinks about it, there are only two real choices. In regards to the dark elemental fruit, Lang Feng and Shadow Tiger are definitely the best candidates. For starters, Lang Feng's kindness and compassion towards the beasts of Misty Mountain have ensured the younger generation of beasts have a strong bond with him and his sister. At the same time, Shadow Tiger has extraordinary battle talent and is sure to become an incredible powerhouse with the fruit. Despite how powerful an ally Shadow Tiger will be, however, Ziyu can't just ignore all of Lang Feng's contributions. Frustrated by the difficulty of this decision and the unavoidable disappointment of whoever gets passed over, Ziyu decides to just hold onto the fruit for now and delay the matter. When in doubt, procrastinate. Moving on to the light elemental fruit, Ziyu is even more indecisive. With the sheer destructive power and speed of light granted by this fruit, who wouldn't want it? Thinking that over again, however, he has an idea. Ziyu turns towards Laurel and tells her to make an announcement for all the beasts of Misty Mountain. In exactly 3 months' time, a tournament will be held for all beasts below the fourth order. Not only will the winner receive the light elemental fruit, but the second place will even undergo baptism by him personally. Well, I didn't know they were religious like that, but cool. Moving closer to Laurel, Ziyu tells her to really emphasize the power of the light fruit and get as many participants as possible since he'll be watching too. In fact, she can go ahead and invite humans too, since it'll be a good opportunity to recruit more of them. Soon after their conversation, Laurel uses a moonlight projection to announce the tournament all over Earth, sending the whole planet into an uproar over the prize for first place. Even those who don't fully understand what it means, like the Rat King and his subordinates, are beyond hyped up for the tournament. Everyone is making preparations in their own way, with little Panda going to his older brother and clan to request his support. In return, he promises to split the fruit with him. At the same time, White Tiger is making a rousing speech to his own clan to get them to put in their all. Or rather, Xiaolan gives the speech after he just yells about death a bunch. Same thing. Even Sparky is determined to win this tournament and tells his underlings as much. Be it any of the clans, Ninetails, the Mist Beast, the Flying Chipmunks, or even the Bear Race, everyone wants that fruit. Well, except these dudes. They already know they don't stand a chance. With the light elemental fruit and its power being the utterly otherworldly phenomenon that it is, information about how it can allow a third-order beast or human to break through directly to fourth order spreads across the world faster than you can say, big tree. By the time 2 weeks have passed, news sources are covering the tournament to be held by Misty Mountain extensively and speculating over the authenticity of the first-place prize. Then, of course, there are those who believe it too great an opportunity to pass up, such as the residents of the Long Mansion. Long the young master of the family, is in the middle of finishing up his training for the day when his grandfather shows up to speak about the upcoming tournament. Citing his grandson's status as undefeated among the third orders, he asks if thinks he can take first place. When his grandson sheepishly replies that they can't participate since they're not a part of Misty Mountain, the older man smacks the crap out of him. Damn, Boomer got hands. He angrily tells his grandson that they just have to join Misty Mountain then. Oh yeah, of course, 'cause that's no big deal. The old man proceeds to go on a whole tirade about how tons of people are already flocking to Misty Mountain and he has to do the same no matter what. Even if he has to sign a contract, if he can just get that fruit and reach the fourth order, their family will be safe for another century. Calming down a little longer, his grandfather seriously tells him this is the only way for him to protect all he wishes to keep safe. His own expression now equally serious, or tells the old man he understands. Besides, he'd like to fight the other powerhouses either way. Lil Bro thinks he's Goku. Meanwhile, at a random observatory, a new hire gets told off by his boss for reporting that there's suddenly a forest and ocean on the moon. I mean, that's just ridiculous. How would that even happen? Back on the moon base, Laura reports to Ziyu that they've got about 2,000 participants lined up for the tournament already. Among those numbers, hundreds of them are outsiders in the third order and have been settled in King Gang's immortal residing pavilion for now. Ziyu is decently surprised by the incredible number of participants, but it's a good thing, since now they have a larger pool from which to pick Misty Mountain's full-time recruits. What Ziyu's most intrigued by right now is just where the humans will place in this tournament. And so another month passes by with more and more beasts arriving at Misty Mountain. Just like that, the day of the tournament has arrived and the contestants are gathering. In the hubbub of said gathering, the crowd is suddenly rendered speechless when they see a terrifyingly powerful rend claw bear pulling up. Not only is the bear intimidating enough on its own, but atop its head rides a member of the three-eyed race, formidable in their own right. As if the arrival of these two menaces wasn't bad enough for everyone else, the thunderous giant bear of Misty Mountain shows up on the scene next. As the two giant beasts lock eyes and enter a stare-off, the humans feel some relief, hoping that they'll wear each other down instead of them. Looks like that's totally going to happen too. Psych. Nope. They're best buds now. From there, the heavy hitters just keep coming in, from Shadow Tiger to White Two-Tailed Fox and even a whole freaking Titan. Even Long confident as he originally was, now feels like he's completely out of his depth amidst these behemoths. Seeing the doubt in the young man's eyes, a hulking muscle-bound moron approaches and tries to bully him into forking over protection money. Unfortunately for him, he's severely overestimating his own standing in the rankings of power here. Something which Long is moments away from showing him firsthand, only for the metaphorical bell to save him as a rip opens up in the air near them. As the teeter widens before their very eyes, the tournament for the light fruit is finally at hand. Every last one of the hundreds of contestants gathered in the field watches in awe as the tear opens wider and wider, allowing the terrifying form of a massive purple python to emerge from it. A python, which the young human of the three-eyed race recognizes all too well. On the other hand, everyone else, the actual Titan included, mistakenly believes this serpent to be a supreme Titan. Fully believing this due to the python's sheer size, said actual Titan kneels before him, referring to him as senior. Seeing the snake's confusion at being addressed in such a way, the Titan explains that he's from an impure bloodline that just recently awakened, and that's probably why he doesn't recognize him. Upon hearing this, Yu Ziyu, the true entity bearing the python's visage, decides to play along with the Titan's belief since his awakened divinity is a pretty good ability that could be useful. Dude's got absolutely zero shame. Having made this decision, Ziyu tells the Titan that he's entrenched on the other side of the world. As such, if the Titan has any problems, he can go ahead and talk to God Tree since the python and he are close friends. Yeah, that's an understatement. With that seed for a future alliance sound, Ziyu turns to King Gang and gives the order for the tournament site to be prepared. Almost as soon as those words leave his maw, King Gang is at work, shifting the very earth around at such speed that the gathered contestants are thrown on their behinds. Only the Triclops maintains enough balance to see what's actually happening, and it nearly throws him on his ass too from sheer surprise. The clearing they all gathered in know, virtually the entire forest they were just in has been flattened and transformed into a several-mile-wide battlefield. Almighty Pushu. With the stage set, Ziyu announces to all present that the first round shall now commence. He goes on to give everyone a recap of the current situation. Could have sworn that was my job, but all right, Chief. With the powerhouses of all races gathered here at Misty Mountain's first grand event, only the top 108 contestants will receive a prize, with each rank getting something better than that below. Of these 108, the top 20 will also be granted an audience with the Divine Tree himself. And finally, what everyone is here for in the first place, the light elemental fruit shall go solely to the champion. From Long-Er to Fa Pikachu, everyone is emboldened by the reminder of what's at stake. Ziyu goes on to announce the format of the tournament. In this first round, they will all be assessed and only 1,000 of them will qualify to continue onwards. From that point on, they will have a series of duels until the numbers are whittled down to the top 108. And then finally, the champion shall be crowned from among those strongest few. With that, his piece has been said, and he leaves the first round in the capable hands of Bull Demon. Do those count as hands? Hooves, maybe. With the reins now in his hooves, Bull Demon tells the contestants that all they have to do to qualify in this first round is be among the first 1,000 to reach him on the other side of the arena. And of course, this has to be done within a set time limit as well, as displayed by the giant hourglass King Gang summons. Across the field, sentiments are varied. While the avians, quadrupeds, and more powerful beasts are brimming with confidence, the humans and Little Panda's little posse already know they're done for. The second Bull Demon calls out the qualifiers beginning. Everyone dashes forward at their top speeds, leaping over each other, blocking the way, and doing anything else they can do to get an edge. As for Long-Er and Muscle Man, well, human legs only go so fast. Speaking of Muscle Man, you know who else only goes so fast? Little Panda. What? Were you expecting something else? Luckily for the ones lagging behind, they're not at the back of the pack for too long, as Yu instructs Bull Demon to activate his gravity field. Just like that, the arena turns into a knockoff of King K's planet, and everyone present is brought crashing down to the ground under their own weight. With the field's gravity increased tenfold, all but the strongest beasts and humans are left to literally eat dust on the ground. Despite this, however, Bull Demon is fairly impressed by just how many of the beasts are able to endure his gravity in the end. In fact, even some of the humans are getting through it, surpassing all expectations of them. Said human is determined to make his grandpa proud and bounce back with this opportunity, as are Little Panda and his brother, making full use of being four-legged. Unfortunately for them, that means all the other quadrupeds are just as unaffected, as seen when Shadow Tiger zooms past along with the other feline beasts. Pretty soon, the few humans still on their feet notice that it's not just the tigers, but the gorillas as well that are all but unaffected by the gravity increase. Right in the middle of this realization, they suddenly notice that the sky has gone dark above them. In reality, however, they've simply been eclipsed by a massive tortoise that's also competing. Sure, just throw anything in there? I guess. The tortoise doesn't get to shine for long, though, as it's eclipsed to an even larger degree by the Titan, who doesn't even need to put much effort into this round. Long-Er and Muscle Man are only spurred on by the disparity in their capability, however, and push themselves to keep up with the Titan. Meanwhile, Ziyu has been observing them all and decides that the challenge of this round is a bit too easy. At his command, Bull Demon doesn't just increase the gravity, but doubles it, now making for a field that's 20 times normal gravity. For all those who were already having trouble before, this increase is the final nail in the coffin as they collapse and spurt blood. Even many of the beasts suffer the same fate, unable to withstand the new gravitational field. However, the standouts from before continue to give it their all, Long-Er and Little Panda in particular, pushing well beyond their limits to keep going. It's at this point that Ziyu notices some new contestants who've gone under the radar so far. Despite having the unassuming form of the simple board, the beast he identifies as an Undine Blood Raven has some incredibly interesting and unique abilities. Not only is it formed by the fusion of countless blood ravens, but it can even split into them and absorb the power of any that dies. On the complete opposite end of the subtlety spectrum, there's even a gigantic lava colossal beast and a sea beast that's evolved to become amphibious. In addition to those, the King Kong race is having a pretty easy time overcoming Bull Demon's gravity increase as well. As for the beasts of Misty Mountain, well, they refuse to back down and let these randos win, so they continue pushing their limits. King Gang can't help but praise the beasts for their performance, but Ziyu's attention has already shifted to yet another contestant. Surprisingly enough, the gold-spotted swallowtail butterfly, a light elemental beast, has joined this race as well. Unfortunately, he's forced to shift his focus away from the tournament upon the arrival of none other than Zilian, who's been scouting around the void's perimeter. True to what Ziyu was weary of, Zilian reports that he sensed an unknown creature of immense power about to invade. Ziyu's eyes go wide upon hearing this, and he starts pondering on the potential strength of this invader. Despite how powerful he knows Zilian to be, he can't help but worry based on his shaken state just from sensing this new being. Before he can voice his doubts, however, Zilian himself speaks up, asking Ziyu to let him proceed alone. Though he's still concerned, Ziyu decides to have faith in his friend and lets him go on. As Zilian leaves, the god tree can't help but worry even more, knowing only that they don't know what kind of monsters lie in the void. Unable to silence the voice in his head, he dons his serpent root form and follows after Zilian, completely unaware of the horrific visage watching from afar. While Ziyu goes after Zilian, the tournament's qualifier round is quickly coming to an end. As Bull Demon watches on dutifully, the King Kong race's contestants are the first to break through the gravity field and reach him, securing their positions going forward. Impressed as he is, Bull Demon admits he's not surprised they're the first to make it, though the others aren't too far behind either. Sure enough, Shadow Tiger and the other carnivorous cats are next to make it across the field, followed shortly by the great bears, the blood raven, the white two-tailed fox, and the swallowtail butterfly. And then of course there's the towering titan, but nobody had any doubts of his success. Still, in the gravitational field, Long-Er is one of the only humans left standing. Yet he can't help but worry that the beasts are going to snag all the qualifying spots. Between that and the time limit ticking down, he decides to use his trump card. Bringing his fingers up in a special hand sign, something within Long-Er is suddenly unleashed, allowing him to fly across the field at speeds well beyond anything he's displayed so far. With the hard last nearing emptiness with each passing second, Bull Demon raises his voice and begins to make the announcement. However, with one final push that saps him of all of his strength, Long-Er comes crashing out of the field and into the great bears. With this, he's actually made it to the finish line, if only barely. And bears are not happy right now. Lil Panda is equally exhausted, almost wishing he could withdraw from the tournament if this is how everything will be. Heedless of the woes of those two, Demon Bull makes the announcement that time is up and all those who aren't at the finish line are disqualified. They can leave, of course, but they're also welcome to stay and watch the rest of the tournament. But most importantly, it's now time for the second round. Tears of relief and exertion streaming down his face, Long-Er confusedly asks if they're not going to get any time to rest at all. In response to that, Demon Bull just informs them that they can recover their strength instantly thanks to the essence of life they've got. With that explained, King Gang goes ahead and transforms the field yet again. And this time, it's a proper battle arena. We better hope Mr. Perfect Cell doesn't sue for the design theft. Meanwhile, in the void, Zilian is engaged in battle with Godzilla. Well, no, it's more like a T-Rex with Godzilla powers. Overwhelmed by the beast's power, Zilian lets loose a green wind slash, only for the dinosaur to blow it away with a roar and nearly knock him out, followed by a swipe of his claws. Tears are ripped open in the void itself from the beast's attacks, leaving Zilian to attempt a sneak attack. Unfortunately for him, the dinosaur sees right through this and moves its spikes to trap him. Zilian isn't going out that easy though, and with a quick use of Void Green Wind Slash, he shatters the spikes in just one lightning-quick move. With his body damaged, the kaiju-esque beast simply glares at Zilian and lets out a low, menacing roar. Where the hell is God Tree right now? Gotta admit though, Zilian is cooking right now. The beast completely outmaneuvers the Godzilla one aim and proceeds to gouge a solid chunk of flesh right out of its side. Despite the pain and bleeding this causes, however, Zilian quickly notices that the wound he opened is healing at a rapid speed. As long as this void beast possesses such a strong healing ability, the bleed effect of his slashes is pretty much useless. Huh, did somebody say Sakura? As Zilian tries to come up with a plan other than just ramming into the beast. Wild, the dinosaur lets loose another roar louder than any before it. Zilian is wholly unfazed though, still focused on coming up with a plan. And what a plan he has. He's going to evolve his scythe and bleed skill, and then hit the dinosaur really hard. Just like that, Zilian goes Super Saiyan, releasing a massive burst of power and changing his physical form completely. His spine is spiked, his pincers sharper and more jagged, and his jaw full of flesh, rending knives for teeth. This is his second battle form, Rose Form. Yelling at the dinosaur, Zilian explains that this is a form that forgoes all defense for an overwhelming and unbeatable offense. With this, he dashes towards Godzilla Jr., intent on ending this in a flash. One slice right through the beast's torso, another across its head, another across its arms. One after the other, Z-Lion throws so many attacks of such high potency at the beast that even its high-speed healing can't keep up. And then, in the final move of his initial offensive, Z-Lion fires a series of shredding energy blasts, ruining the dinosaur's hide. Having taken more damage than likely ever before in its life, the dinosaur grits its jaws and furiously lets out a roar of utter hatred. Alongside said roar, it spits out a massive energy blast right at Z-Lion, only for the smaller beast to weave around it with ease. Full of rage, the dinosaur redoubles its efforts and fires off several more blasts in an attempt to catch Z-Lion off guard. Unfortunately for it, the bug-like beast is too fast for any of the attacks to even so much as graze him. After weaving cleanly through each and every one of the blasts, Z-Lion slashes through the dinosaur yet again. In blind panic, the beast lets loose a pair of incredibly fast death beams right out of its eyes, catching Z-Lion off guard with the absurdity of the move. With the smaller beast momentarily stunned, the dinosaur makes an attempt to crush Z-Lion with one of its hands. Unfortunately for the behemoth, as soon as he brings his palm down on his target, Z-Lion simply shreds through the hand, completely ruining it and freeing himself. With both beasts now at the edge of their stamina, they decide to fire everything they've got left into a final attack. As Z-Lion prepares what appears to be a slicing blast, the void beast charges a Gallic gun in its mouth. As soon as it's poured every last bit of its energy into the blast, the void beast fires its attack at Z-Lion, eclipsing him with its sheer size. However, even in this dire situation, Z-Lion remains calm and follows through with his plan. Within seconds, the seemingly tiny slice of energy he's amassed cuts right through the void beast's blast like a denji through a wet tissue. And not just the blast for that matter, but the void beast itself, as well as left cleaved completely in half. As the giant beast's torso and legs collapse onto the floor of the realm separately from each other, Z-Lion lands on top of it and takes a moment to breathe, believing the battle to be over. However, his moment of celebration is rudely interrupted when the void beast's eyes suddenly shoot wide open. Faster than Z-Lion can even think to react, the dinosaur has started regenerating its lower half. At this point, all Z-Lion can do is watch hopelessly. Luckily for him, that's all he needs to do, because the void beast's form is suddenly overtaken by an even larger and more menacing presence. As Z-Lion turns his eyes to the newcomer, he's treated to the sight of none other than Yu Ziyu in his shadow root form, devouring the void beast. Looks like somebody skipped breakfast. As Yu wraps his massive serpent body around the void beast and chomps down on the creature's neck, the beast lets out a deafening roar of pain and anguish. In an attempt to free itself, the beast bites right back and tears into Ziyu's body. Between what he can feel happening as a result of this and the status window that has popped up, Ziyu is able to determine that the void beast is absorbing his spirit energy. This creature, the 17th king of the void race, is known as Famine. Reacting quickly, Ziyu tightens the hold of his coiled body around Famine and warns it to give up what it's trying. With that, the dinosaur is subdued and Ziyu gets to work absorbing its nutrients and seizing its spirit energy. It's during this process, as Famine rides in pain, that Ziyu receives the notification stating that he's gained the pinnacle absorption skill, allowing him to perfectly absorb all things. Are we sure he's not a Majin? Surprised by the ability, Ziyu can't help but be regretful over the loss of the void beast's immense potential. If anything, this creature is the best weapon not only for solo battles, but even for planetary exploration in the future. Simply deploying him on any world they may invade would be enough to completely shatter the foundations of that world. Hell, all he needs to do to get stronger is devour to his heart's content rather than suffering hardships and cultivating like normal. And this is only the 17th rank king. His mind made up, Ziyu decides to suppress Famine's growth and has him sent to the dimension of void in the 9 great dimensions. As the beast-battered body is transported away, Z-Lion wonders out loud just how powerful the 16 void beasts ranked above Famine are going to be. On the other hand, Ziyu is more focused on the new ability his underling has awakened, namely, Blood Drinker. The ability to absorb both blood and spirit energy for sped-up growth and stamina recovery. For now, though, he keeps this to himself and simply tells Z-Lion that it's time to go since they've already wasted far too much time here. Back at the tournament site, each of the battle arenas constructed by King Gang is the site of an incredible battle. Currently at Arena 1, Thunder's giant bear has just triumphed over his rhinoceros opponent as declared by Smoke City's human who is refereeing. Elsewhere in the same massive arena, Longer faces a massive land-walking shark that attacks him with about a dozen tentacles. The young master of the Draconic clan is determined, however, and with a quick application of his Dragon Scales claw move, his opponent is taken down. While the ref is announcing his victory, Longer wipes away the sweat on his face and ponders on his progress so far, Though he's made it to the top 108, the opponents are only going to get stronger, and he's far from close to the higher ranks. Even the Triclops from the three-eyed divine race is only in the top 50, well above his own rank at 82nd. Now Longer may be having doubts about his chances, but the ones watching the tournament are quite impressed with his talent. Ninetales in particular thinking about how he hasn't even revealed his true power yet, one hidden within his body that is not his own. Almost as if he's reading Ninetales' mind, Bull Demon tells him that he'll have to show his full strength one way or another now that the herd has been thinned to such a degree. Back down in the arena, Steel Veranidae claims victory over its opponent while Long stands silently with an intense expression. Dude, come on. You are not Sasuke. Next up, the referee announces the bout between two titanic beings, one of them quite literally. It's Shadow Tiger versus Titan. From where they're watching, King Gang expresses his surprise over two of the top 10 fighting each other so early on. Bull Demon is quick to point out that it's not that early for them though, as they've both already won 24 rounds. On the other hand, Longer is just grateful that those two insanely strong beasts are up against each other instead of him. Yep, he definitely just jinxed it. Right as Longer finishes that thought, his next opponent walks up behind him. The White Fox ranked first and the current champion of the tournament. Yep, called it. Off to the side, Little Panda is first to voice everyone's thoughts. Long is cooked. Ninetales, on the other hand, believes this will be a highly interesting fight. Gotta save the good stuff for last though, so have a look at the rest of the fights first. Over at the site of Shadow Tiger and Titan's battle, the latter has already suffered some extensive damage when he finds his hand lopped clean off by Shadow Tiger during an attempted slam. As Titan stumbles backward from the shock and pain of this development, Shadow Tiger summons forth more tigers, and they charge up some incredibly powerful blasts. Within seconds, those blasts are let loose and hit Titan with the force of a dozen bombs, completely blowing off one side of his face. With all the sauce of someone who knows they've won, Shadow Tiger stalks over Titan's torso and holds another blast point blank to his face with a stone-cold warning to surrender. At that point, Titan has no option but to admit defeat, lest his core be destroyed as well. And so Bull Demon announces Shadow Tiger's victory, almost sounding disappointed by the predictable outcome. I mean, dang, if you want drama, just go on Twitter, or X. I don't know, whatever we call it nowadays. At the same time, Swallowtail Butterfly fires multiple destructive beams at its own opponent, Little Panda's brother, a move that ends the battle instantly, cementing the Butterfly's position at rank 2 for the tournament. Watching from the sidelines, Sparky makes a smug comment about how Panda and his brothers are just too weak, unlike his subordinates. Yeah, he just jinxed it too. Or his subordinates suck. Sure enough, Totally Not Pikachu makes short work of Sparky's underlings, sending him into a pit of depression he won't soon recover from. While Little Panda dodges a call from his brother because of his loss, the Rat Gang is busy celebrating their leader's triumph. This is soon brought to a halt, however, as a massive explosion of energy brings everyone's attention to one particular fight. Over on Arena 7, the beaten and bloody Long is just barely hanging by a thread in his fight against White Fox. Watching from above, Ninetales mentions how the beast is more than strong enough to break through to the Fourth Order by now but refuses to do so for some reason. Even her brother, watching from afar, wonders why she won't just end this already and stop toying with this poor human. Back in the arena, White Fox yells at Longer to surrender already since he can't win. This, however, just ignites Longer's resolve, having never been one to give up. First Sasuke, now Naruto. Bro's stealing the whole cast's flow right now. Finally revealing the power he's kept hidden until now, Longer speaks to the spectral avatar of a dragon emerging from within him. Now addressing White Fox, he admits that this is an ability he didn't really want to use, but he has no other choice. What was it White Fox said? That he's going to lose? Well, he wouldn't be so sure of that. All at once, the realization of what's been hidden within Long strikes both White Fox and Shadow Dragon. At some point in time, Long has swallowed a dragon egg. Just as Longer's aura is exploding with power, Godtree finally returns to the tournament, its gargantuan form appearing on the outskirts of the arenas. While everyone shifts their focus onto him, Ziyu's own attention is fully caught by Longer's bombastic transformation. Why? It's a cool word. Understanding what he's watching instantly, Ziyu comments that he'd never have expected Long to be carrying the bloodline of a dragon, though he does wonder how he even came to possess such a thing. Down on the battlefield, White Fox is beyond surprised by just how high Long's spiritual power is rising, having nearly hit the peak of Third Order and showing no signs of stopping. Determined as she is not to lose, White Fox is woefully unprepared for Long to suddenly appear right inside her guard, arm outstretched in the form of a talon for an explosive attack. Shadow Dragon, Bull Demon, and King Gang are all equally shocked by the speed of Long Er's approach, though Nine Tails maintains his composure as he observes. As the arena is enveloped in the explosion resulting from Long Er's attack, Yu Ziyu thinks back on the possible origins of the human's power. Years ago, humanity obtained 4 dragon eggs during their first encounter with the black dragon in Australia. Of those 4, one was incubated and became the 10th land beast in Misty Mountain. One was damaged and devoured by Emperor Crocodile. One was absorbed by a beast from the Freedom Federation. And finally, the 4th was taken away by the Midnight Sun Empire but was stolen by an unknown faction that jumped them in transit. As Long Er pins White Fox down by the throat and fires a point-blank dragon roar, the fox just barely manages to get out of the way before firing back with a blast of her own. This, however, is deflected in its entirety by Long Er's now transformed arm, shocking White Fox. What shocks her even more, though, is when Long Er once again dashes into her guard faster than she can catch and slams her away. In the viewing area, the other humans are rooted in place out of disbelief and some fear, wondering if Long Er is even human to begin with. At the same time, Ziyu can sense that there's more than just dragon blood at play here. Long Er has dragon spirit mixed into his very soul itself, which explains his insane strength. Over with the Misty Mountain top brass, Shadow Dragon is practically making a fool of himself and cheering on Long Er, having already claimed him as a relative. Clout chaser much. Back with the two in question, White Fox and Long Er enter into a classic beam clash as each of their roar attacks impact each other and compete for dominance. Eventually, the whole exchange explodes, leveling the very arena they were fighting in and sending the spectators flying. From the dust, debris, and smoke kicked up from this explosion, what emerges no longer even slightly resembles Long Er. Ziyu is the first to recognize this new humanoid dragon form as the result of dragonification, which Long Er clearly can't fully control. Sure enough, as the dragon-human hybrid flies towards White Fox on wings of pure flame, his internal conversation with the dragon within reveals that he's on a time limit, one which he's pushing with every second he remains in this form. Unwilling to give up on victory, however, he charges forward to exchange blows with White Fox directly, trading punches one after the other. Eventually, Long Er goes beyond his limit and starts losing his mind to his own power, no longer seeing anything but the desire to win. Equally determined not to lose, however, White Fox matches his insanity as they both charge at each other once more, determined to kill the other with his final attack. Luckily for them, Ziyu chooses this moment to intervene, restraining Long Er and several of his tentacle root thingies. Not wanting to lose such a promising talent like this, he opens up a massive void rift to restrain Long Er more securely. Meanwhile, Bull Demon declares that White Fox has won since the final exchange God Tree interfered with would have killed Long Er. For his part, Long Er has completely lost all sense of reasoning at this point, lashing out against Ziyu like a wild animal. Ziyu pays that no mind, though, fully immersed in the process of reversing Long Er's current state and improving his dragonification. After balancing out his spirit energy with his own power, Ziyu administers one more thing to the young man before deeming his work to be done. With that, he releases Long Er, who crashes down to the ruined arena with the force of a small meteor. By the time the dust from that crash clears up, the being that emerges is no longer fully dragon or human. With his two sides now in sync, Long Er emerges as a true hybrid. As soon as Long Er emerges in this new form, the crowd goes wild, with King Gang and the humans struck with jealousy as much as disbelief over the divine tree actually stepping in to personally help someone. Then there's Little Panda, who instantly whipped out a phone and started filming. Freaking goblin. The moment Long Er is able to make sense of what happened in his surroundings, he kneels before the divine tree, thanking him earnestly for what he's done. In response, Yu Ziyu tells him that he's even reinforced his dragon form's scales with the steel element heart, which will take his defense to a whole new level. All he has to say to the boy now is to stay in Misty Mountain and train hard to make sure he doesn't waste this gifted body of his. Having been listening in on this conversation, the jealousy of the other contestants is magnified even further since the steel element heart's metallization ability is a highly sought-after one. Between Long Er's dragon blood and soul stacked on top of metallic scales that can grow stronger still, his potential is practically limitless now. Might as well call him a Saiyan. Also, Lang Feng's sister's crushing on him massively, so that's nice. Sucks to be Lang Feng, though. Now, at long last, the final battle of the tournament has arrived, with White Fox pitted against the golden swallowtail butterfly. King Gang personally descends to the arena floor for the final bout as he announces that the fate of the light elemental fruit rests on this battle's outcome. However, before they can even begin preparing for it, White Fox declares that she's forfeiting, shocking many. Deciding to elaborate, she explains that if the divine tree hadn't interfered, there's no way to know what the outcome of her fight with Long would have been. As such, she has no interest in carrying on and concedes both the victory and the light elemental fruit to Swallowtail Butterfly. And so, without the need for a final battle, the Swallowtail Butterfly is declared the champion of the Misty Mountain tournament and granted the light fruit, something which even the butterfly itself is quite surprised by since she hasn't exactly had to fight very tough opponents for the most part. Hercule Hu. Yu Ziyu is no less surprised, admitting that he never would have expected her to win this. But with her being a light attribute beast to begin with is probably for the best since the fruit will benefit her more than most. As for the other fruit, she hadn't told anyone of. Ziyu calls on Shadow Tiger to praise his performance and grants him the dark elemental fruit, a reward that the beast is more than grateful for. Glad we can't actually hear him. Wool to deafen me. Turning towards Lang Feng, Ziyu apologizes for not giving him the darkness fruit and promises to make it up to him next time, though the human is far from upset in the first place. Healthy workplace. That's how you know this is fiction. With everything wrapped up, Ziyu makes one final announcement to those present. There is one more fruit in his possession, and to determine who gets it, there will be more competitions like this one in the future. To that end, he urges them all to hone their skills and remember that only the strong are welcome in Misty Mountain. And so the tournament is over, the winners are rewarded, the injured are healed in the spirit pool, and the losers are punished by their leaders. No, really, Sparky's putting his folks through the grinder. Meanwhile, not Pikachu's embarrassed about being kind of a fraud and little Panda's facing his own demons. They're called debt collectors, or family, whichever you prefer. Other than that, though, all is peaceful in the Misty Mountains now, and Ziyu is free to train in the void depths. There he practices his willow leaf, steel flying blade move, ripping tears into the void with every use. A feat only possible after fusing it with the power of the steel element, enhancing it with the path of Vanguard. Not only that, if Ziyu just keeps pouring enough spirit energy into the move, it can turn into an ocean's worth of destruction hurtling toward any target. In this case, the void. Luckily, for the now panicking God Tree, the void begins to mend itself, meaning he doesn't have to worry about destroying it. Even so, he resolves to find a better way to control his move. Little by little, Ziyu manages to hone his skills to the point that his mastery over both the willow leaf blade and his vines has increased significantly. In fact, when it comes to the willow leaf blades, he can now control the exact trajectory of each individual blade he fires. Between the mental link he has with them and the power increase they've had, launching them now makes it look like the sky's full of stars. In line with that change in the visuals of the move, Ziyu decides to rename it from Willow Leaf Flying Blades to Dazzling Galaxy. Dang, I wanted to clown it, but that goes hard. As he settles on the new name, Ziyu then receives a notification informing him that his Path of Vanguard Mastery has hit a full 7%, surpassing his previous level by a decent bit. With that, he decides he's done enough for the day. At the same time, light years away from Earth and its moon, on a nigh and hospitable planet of barren wastelands, a dark creature with several legs suddenly stops in its tracks. Suddenly, without any warning, the spider-like being opens its fish-like mouth and vomits out a smooth white ball. Pick a lane, man, that's one animal too many. Then, equally sudden in its occurrence is the disgustingly visceral emergence of a strange red insectoid beast from the ball. Man, I wanted to eat after this. Hugh. One after the other, dozens of these beasts rise, standing at attention before the spider-fish thing as it gives them their orders. They must go to Earth and destroy the being responsible for killing Gujet. Meanwhile, deep in the Misty Mountains, we see a familiar face as the mysterious guardian who previously warned Yu Ziyu of the coming threat walks through the woods. Before she gets far, Ninetales appears to block her path and angrily tells her this path is forbidden. As the two enter a stair down, Ninetales is overwhelmed by the spirit energy radiating off this woman, having only seen something similar before from the Divine Tree himself. Within moments, Ninetales is joined by the other guardians of Misty Mountain as Sparky and White Tiger show up to surround the woman. In an attempt to be diplomatic first, she tells them she's not here to cause trouble and that they should calm down. However, as Sparky is quick to point out, she has no right to say that while radiating the amount of killing intent that she has. Still as uneasy as ever over her aura, Ninetales demands that she state her reasons for being here. Meanwhile, the idiot, who is probably that reason, is laughing his keister off in outer space, overjoyed over finally being able to fly. Soaring among the stars atop his dragon, he can't help but feel smug over how much faster he is now than even humanity's fastest ships. Almost as if it was designed just for him, Ziyu spots a meteor shower not far from him and decides to test out another power. With a single roar of his dragon, the resulting blast is enough to reduce the entire meteor cluster to space dust. With the azure dragon form now at transcendent 5th order and imbued with the strength of steel, His defenses are through the roof as well, with the ability to absorb even elemental attacks and add them to his own power. On top of that, the tree and steel cores rest within his dragon's claws, the former brimming with life force and the latter converting that life into unyielding metal. So basically, he's adamantium now. In terms of attack, defense, and ability, Ziyu is now leagues beyond how strong he was against darkness. Unfortunately, that strength is of no use to Earth at that moment as a void tear opens up in the night sky. From within the tear comes an insectoid arm, pulling it open and allowing a veritable army of red beasts to come through. Blissfully unaware of what's happening on Earth, Yu Ziyu is focused on making the defense of the dragon scales even stronger and decides to return to the void for that purpose. There he will calm his heart and cultivate, an act that may take quite a while, though he's sure his allies and subordinates can handle anything that happens on Earth during that time. Man, people really love jinxing themselves in this world. Far removed from both parties that are soon to face each other, a certain military base within a certain country on Earth is currently in the process of testing a technological breakthrough in weaponry, guided spirit missiles. As soon as the commander calls for one to be fired, the missile is let loose and sent on a collision course with a random patch of desert. There, the missile detonates successfully, turning that section and only that section of the desert into a smooth crater. With this, the researchers back at the base watching via a live feed start celebrating their efforts a success. These extra destructive missiles with spirit energy in their control units are capable of utterly eviscerating the specific beast. They're fired on without harming any surrounding structures. Unfortunately for them, their celebrations are cut short when a void tear suddenly opens directly above the base. At first, they suspect this is an act of the divine tree. However, one of the suits realizes the color of the tear is different from the ones made by the tree. Before he can warn anyone else of this, however, the red insectoid beasts, which I'm just gonna call blood bugs from now on, have emerged and started raining hell down on them. Even as the command center sends out a level 1 alert calling for everyone to enter combat state, the bugs vaporize their department, leaving the ground forces utterly disorganized. One after the other, their tanks, choppers, and APCs all come together to blast the blood bugs to smithereens, but it's all to no avail. Might be because they're 3D and a 2D manhwa. Seriously. What are those? Even the rockets fired by the choppers are tanked with no effort, followed by return fire from the blood bugs in the form of a massive energy beam which reduces the military base to a pile of rubble altogether. In a desperate attempt and with his final breath, the single soldier left clinging to life manages to fire off one of their new missiles. Unfortunately, this too is a fruitless effort as the blood bug in front catches the weapon like a chew toy and completely tanks its explosion. What the hell are these things made of? Not long after that disaster, a similar void tear opens up in the woods of Misty Mountains, and a single blood bug with a flaming eye at its core steps foot on the divine tree's home turf. In the further reaches of Misty Mountains woods, the great ape and others sense the sudden arrival of several life forms stronger than anything that should be around here. White tiger, Sparky, lizard, Rex, Fang masked elephant, and shadow dragon race to the site of these energy signatures, while Ninetails is already there. Riding atop a boar, Mini Wukong's terrified expression says everything that his allies are feeling. Up on the moon, Laurel reports this unprecedented development to the beasts residing there, explaining that each one of these new enemies possesses the strength of a peak transcendent fourth order. Despite their concern, Black Dragon tries to reassure everyone with a reminder that God Tree will have a way to handle this. Unfortunately for them, that isn't something they can wait for once Laurel reports that he's been missing for 3 whole days with no sign of reappearing. Hearing that Ninetails and the other Misty Mountain beasts are the only ones available on Earth, it doesn't set anyone's mind at ease either, wanting to go help out. But without Ziyu's abilities, even the Phoenix Demon isn't capable of flying back to Earth. Even worse, he can feel the power of these invaders, and it's exactly the same as what darkness was like when he appeared. Down on Earth, the bloodbugs instantly get to work setting their surroundings ablaze, opposed only by a little raccoon hedgehog thing. The little guy's thunder dive is woefully ineffective against the insanely hard shell of the bloodbugs, however, leaving it wounded and vulnerable. From there, it's easier than ever for the bloodbug to slam Raccoon Dog into the earth, cratering it and injuring RD quite a bit. Even so, the little menace stands its ground as the bloodbugs fire a concentrated energy beam right at it. Wait, why though? Those seem like overkill. Luckily for RD, Mini Wukong shows up at the last second to deflect the blast with his pole, saving the creature's life. No, not that pole, you pervs. With the idiot trio all together, the bloodbugs stand no chance. Of losing, that is. The terrified 3 are saved from an early grave by the arrival of Lizard Rex and Masked Mammoth, the latter of whom holds one bug hostage as Sparky shows up to slice it into pieces. And finally, Descending from the skies above like a savior sent from the heavens, Ninetales shows himself, wreathed in flames and rage as he warns the bugs not to do anything reckless. With his piece said, the fox unleashes a torrent of flames upon the bugs, boiling them all from the inside out and leaving them dead on the ground. His forces defeated, the leader of the blood bugs finally shows up as well. Known simply as Xeno's commander, he is a transcendent fifth order, donning 4 wings and a shell pattern different from the rest. As Ninetales watches on, Xeno slowly descends closer to the few surviving blood bugs on the ground and asks them a single question, his eye ablaze with the flames of fury. Who killed Guget? While Xenos is conversing with his men, bugs, Shadow Dragon finally makes it to the battlefield, pulling up right next to Ninetales. Rooted in place, the fox simply tells the dragon to be on guard. Watching from a little further away, Sparky makes the obvious statement that this newcomer must be the invaders' leader, because we totally needed that. Thanks, Captain O. As for the leader in question, Xenos simply floats in place, arms crossed, as he surveys all those present tonight to see which of them might be his target. With a single look, he can tell that the slayer of Guget isn't one of the normal beasts. It isn't Sparky. It isn't even Ninetales for that matter. In fact, he doesn't sense enemy spirit energy that he would consider powerful out here. Having come to that somewhat disappointing conclusion, Xenos summons dozens more blood bugs from a massive void tier and declares that he'll look for their target himself. Elsewhere in the spirit energy detection office, the entire control room is abuzz with panicked conversation as they watch the video of Bohr's military base being annihilated 3 full hours ago. Based on the appearance of the blood bugs in the footage, it doesn't take a genius to realize they're somehow related to darkness. The second that connection is made, they start sending out alerts and searching for where else they may be. Thanks to that, they're able to pinpoint pretty quickly the location of the blood bugs and have gathered in the Huaxia region, particularly in the Bayou Canyon, where several beasts are forced to flee from the massive energy beams being shot into the woods. Among them, Feng Lang, Lang Yu, and Xiao Lan are caught in the metaphorical crossfire, unable to figure out just what the hell is going on. Feng Lang does know that Ninetales and the others are fighting the main force of these enemies right now, but little else, so he tells the girls to take the cubs with them and go into hiding while they can. Unfortunately, they come face to face with a massive blood bug before they even begin to follow or argue with those orders. Uncaring of their concerns, the blood bug shoots an energy beam right at them, which Feng is quick to block and dissipate with his own power. Making full use of the precious few seconds he's bought them with that move, Xiao Lan uses her eyes of treasure to spot the weak point of these creatures, the back of the head. Wasting no time, she tells Lang Yu to attack that spot, making an opening for her to do just that by baiting the bug. Even after reaching the weak spot, however, Lang Yu is unable to even put a crack in the ridiculously hard shell of this blood bug. Her brother is quick to follow her attempt with his own, and he sees some success, but even his attack, insanely powerful and showy as it is, only just breaks through the outer shell. A fact that Xiao Lan tries to convey to them, but is too late as the bug has already thrown off both siblings. While flying away from the blood bug, Lang Yu screams in frustration about where the hell they're supposed to find a blade big enough to behead this thing. Oh, reverse jinx for once maybe. The moment these words leave her mouth and the blood bug opens its own, a massive blade reaches into its throat through its mouth, holding it up in the air like a ragdoll. Let's effing go. After landing a safe distance away, the siblings and Xiao Lan watch as the praying mantis queen slices the blood bug's head clean off its body. At the same time, Lang Feng mentions that it is here as well. Friggin' pronoun game again. Who is it? Oh, it's the gray great ape king dude. Cool. Before we continue with our regularly scheduled action, have a break and grab a snack while we turn back the clock a little. Heading back to the face-off between Ninetales and the mysterious guardian, we watch as she warns them of certain creatures coming to attack this place soon. Seeing Ninetales' questioning gaze, she tells her that all of them need to start preparing to face these beasts ASAP or else. Finally chiming in from behind her, Sparky asks the woman just what kind of beasts she's talking about when she says creatures. Her answer to that question is one that would be laughable if it weren't as frightening as it is. Aliens. The blood bugs that they now face for the very survival of Misty Mountain are aliens. Back to the present, Lang Feng has already grasped the severity of the current situation and recognizes just how valuable Xiao Lan's eyes are. With that in mind, he sends her off to warn the others about the blood bug's weak spot. Meanwhile, at the site of the initial conflict, RD and Mini Wukong are putting up a surprisingly good fight against the blood bugs, as are all the other beasts. From their joint efforts to Sparky's quick slashes to Lizard Rex, Masked Mammoth, and Shadow Dragon's overwhelmingly explosive power, the alien invaders all seem to be beaten and wiped out. Emboldened by the apparent victory for their side, Ninetales bellows at Xenos that he's the only one left and demands to know who sent him. Rather than answering her question, though, the alien leader just warns the beasts to watch their backs. Because rising up from their ruined states, the bloodbugs everyone just worked so hard to dispatch are right back on their feet and ready for more. Okay, you can't beat zombies and aliens. That's just unfair. While Sparky and the others wonder how the fallen enemies have been revived, Xenos decides to enter the fray and face Ninetales himself, summoning a trident of light in one of his 4 arms. With a single slash of said weapon, the bloodbug leader carves a trench into the earth which spans across almost all of the Misty Mountains. Ninetales is still in the middle of dodging that move when Xenos appears right above her, ready for more. Meanwhile, all of the revived bloodbugs come together to unleash a joint blast so powerful it sends everyone flying, which convinces Sparky they're even stronger than before their near-death experience. Ah, so these guys are the Saiyans then. One of the bloodbugs tries to catch him off guard while he's midair, but Sparky's not having any of that and slices its head and left arm clean off the rest of its body. In a shocking display, however, the bloodbug continues to attack even in its maimed state, making Sparky wonder if these creatures are just puppets of some sort. Before he can think any further, Sparky, Masked Mammoth, and the idiot trio bear witness to dozens of bloodbugs coming together for yet another combined blast explosion. Man, these guys are spamming, damn it. Off in the distance, the mysterious guardian observes silently, her thoughts as much of a secret as everything else about her. On the battlefield itself, Xiao Lan and White Tiger finally arrive, the latter shooting through one of the bloodbugs to break their formation while the former announces her discovery. They'd all have to fully destroy the cores in their enemies' bodies or else they'll just keep coming back from whatever's thrown at them. Hacks. Freaking hacks. Flying above the battlefield on White Tiger's back, Xiao Lan elaborates and tells everyone that their best bet is to completely annihilate the bloodbugs' bodies. Just taking chunks out of them isn't guaranteed to work, because they can freely move their cores around inside of themselves. Excuse me? I take it back, this is beyond hacks even. Rather than being discouraged by this news, Sparky puts on an air of bravado and claims that that just makes things simpler. Without wasting another moment, everyone gets to work shredding their enemies to, well, shreds. Sparky uses strength amplification and quintuple strike to dice one of the bugs up, while Lizard Rex completely vaporizes another with a point-blank wave of scorching flames. Queen Mantis goes in with a similar move to quintuple strike. Masked Mammoth flattens his target with stomps all over the bug's body, and Hal the Idiot Trio straight up annoys theirs to death. Little by little, Misty Mountain's forces are turning the tide of the battle. The other battle is a different matter altogether, though. Up in the sky above everyone else, Ninetales is constantly being pushed on the defensive as Xenos incessantly uses energy blasts to wear her down. Unnoticed by him, Xiao Lan is circling their battle from even higher up and looking him over for any weaknesses. Weirdly enough, Xenos is the only bloodbug so far with no core in his body. Despite her saying nothing to give it away, Xenos somehow realizes what's happening and recognizes the danger of leaving someone like Xiao Lan alive. Taking advantage of the bloodbug commander's focus being diverted, Ninetales blasts in with a firestorm, but this is once again ineffective against the Fifth Order. Just as Xenos is belittling the attack, Ninetales reveals her own form and now clad in the strongest flames she's capable of producing. Although the enemy commander is forced to admit that this is a more impressive showing, his focus is still on Xiao Lan and his desire to kill her here and now. With that in mind, he summons a pair of bloodbugs immediately behind Ninetales and leaves her to deal with them in the meantime. Having recognized that Xenos intends to come for her, Xiao Lan tries to have White Tiger flee upwards into the sky, but that attempt ends in failure as Xenos suddenly appears in front of them. However, just as suddenly as he appeared, he's also smacked away by the palm of none other than the great ape. As the white-furred warrior takes Xenos crashing into the ground, it seems as though it may be able to pose a threat to Xenos. This too, however, is proven to be a false hope as soon as the dust and debris clear up. For what is revealed is not a triumphant ape, but a maimed one, with Xenos now hoisting up his severed arm like a trophy, just as much as a warning. Adding insult to injury, Xenos even patronizes the great ape with some condescending praise about leaving a scar on his body. Right when it seems like it's over for great ape, Mei Wukong comes flying in with a surprising show of bravery, slamming his weapon into Xenos' arm and causing cracks to form all over it. His single eye widened with shock over this damage, Xenos realizes that the stick this little monkey wields is far from ordinary. Unwilling to leave such a threat unchecked, he takes his focus off Great Ape and moves to kill Mini Wukong. Yet again, however, he's caught off guard as Great Ape rises and grabs him from behind, refusing to let his underlimb be harmed. Unfortunately, this is little more than an inconvenience for Xenos, who simply fires a blast backward, blowing clean through half of Great Ape's stomach. Down by an arm and a chunk of his torso, Great Ape still stands proud, refusing to give the enemy even an inch. With that attitude and those injuries, I might have to call him All Might. Raising a hand into the air above him, Xeno suddenly erects a barrier around himself and those in his immediate surroundings, ensuring that none can interrupt what he has decided will be Great Ape's final moments. Realizing his intentions before any of the others, Sparky rushes to try and break through the barrier, but his efforts are for naught. Xenos even takes his time relishing in this fact, gloating to all present about how even a transcendent Fifth Order wouldn't be able to break his barrier, so it's impossible for them. And yet despite this, he summons more and more blood bugs from within his void tears, sending them to keep all the other beasts occupied. Ninetales, Shadow Dragon, the Idiot Trio, and all the other beasts desperately try to break through to where Great Ape is, with Ninetales yelling for them all to save White Ape in a panic. Instead, they're all forced to witness as the King of Monkeys tries to make one last stand, only for his second arm to be lopped off as well. Irreversibly maimed, the Great White Ape is now defenseless as Xenos prepares to end his life. Outside the barrier, White Tiger tries desperately to break through once more, but can't even make a scratch. Meanwhile, on the ground, the entirety of the Monkey Clan has arrived in a furious stampede, refusing to let their leader be defeated like this. In their rage, they fail to heed Shellland's warning and throw themselves at the defensive line of bloodbugs, blind to the strange glow they're all emitting. Sure enough, just moments later, the bloodbugs self-destruct, taking out almost half of the Monkey Clan with them and gutting that faction of Misty Mountain for the foreseeable future. One after the other, each of the mountain's beasts is overwhelmed by the exploding bloodbugs, and the battlefield turns into what looks like the aftermath of a nuke. Of everyone who was blown away, Mei Wukong just so happens to be the closest to the barrier, as well as the first to rise back up. Using his pole as a crutch, he just barely brings himself to his feet and casts a glance in the direction of the barrier. However, the sight he then bears witness to is one that incites pure anguish, rage, and despair within the little beast. Standing amidst the flaming hellscape, a shadow cast on his hulking form by the fire of Xenos glares at him with his single eye, all while dragging the dead form of the Great White Ape by the scalp.